Hi, my name is Joseph, and welcome to Chapter 2, Part 5 of Digimon Seekers Hacker Leon WWW Airlines Flight 626. So, this was a really exciting part. Dare I say, I think it was the most action filled part, besides from Chapter 1 when the Digipolice was introduced interacting with EG. So, the first quote that I want to look at, it's just a quick explanation, a quick reminder to the reader about mind linking and the possible dangers that comes from that. When people mind link to their Digimon, the Digicore is safe so long as a person doesn't hollowize themselves or otherwise leave the core's confines. If the Digicore doesn't take any damage, the human within won't either. If the core gets damaged or the Digimon loses consciousness or otherwise ceases operation, the human consciousness within loses all contact with their Digimon and the outside world. So what I appreciate about this quote is that so far when we've discussed, we being the narration, discussed DG cores and mind linking, it's always been viewed as really dangerous, right? If one is not careful, they might become DMIA'd or essentially go into a coma. But this little line also shows us that although there's really dangerous pitfalls to mind linking, there's also some lesser inconveniences as well. What's going on here for quick context is that Megadramon has been knocked unconscious, and thus what does this mean? EG and Loogarmon cannot communicate with Marvin. And why does this matter? Because Marvin, he was the individual who's in charge of Operation Infinity. What I like about this is that it really adds some extra more danger to the situation. I always thought that getting DMIA was really the only way to become separated from being able to communicate with other team members. In other words, of utilizing one's Digimon to communicate with other individuals, but now we're seeing that it could be a minor inconvenience, becoming unconscious. I'm going to go ahead a little bit in this part, but at the end of this portion, Marvin is able to communicate once again with the group. I am curious to know, we already know that when the Digimon goes unconscious, the tamer or the partner loses communication. Is that because they're also unconscious, or are they just kind of like in a vehicle, kind of like a fighter of some sort, like an aircraft, and it's dead in the water, which means it's not operational? So that would be the Digimon, and the pilot or the individual within the Digicore, they're still awake, but they're not able to do anything, right? Or are they also unconscious? Oh yeah, so that's why I like this line, although it is redundant a little bit. It adds a little bit more. DMIA is a huge concern, but also one can just become incapacitated, just unconscious for a little while. But yeah, moving on. A sneak attack took out Megadramon, and I can't reach Marvin. This is EG communicating with other SOC members who have come to the area. EG grabbed a panic. EG gave a panic summary of the situation. They got him. We were supposed to draw all the defense forces away from you guys. The pair were utterly bewildered, the two SOC agents. And the defense forces didn't do it, then you don't think it was the Digipolice? EG blurted out, panic filling his voice anew. The SOC pair shot that theory down immediately. This was above everyone's pay grade. If it came to light that the Japanese police had also hacked the X-Nation server, it would be the definition of international incident. It was incredibly risky to do so openly. This is really cool because there is elements of world building. We did not really discuss relations between interpersonal relations of nations and other nations. We did get a little bit about that within Chapter 2, but that was mostly from Chapter 1. And this is a quick reminder that although each nation is able to access the digital world, when they're inside the digital world, their nation's laws is still in effect. Or again, their nation's borders, where their nation's borders digitally end, that's also where those laws end as well. And it can't be the Digipolice. Why? Well, because the Digipolice is a sanctioned unit from the Japanese government, and so it made sense why it couldn't be them, right? When I was first reading this, I was like, oh, from EG's point of view, maybe it was a Digipolice, right? But of course, it wasn't them. Why? Well, because the SOC who have experience conducting cyber terrorism, they understand that although the Digipolice, they're trying to maintain order, they can only maintain order within Japanese servers. They cannot go beyond that. What I also like about this line is just that I really am enjoying EG as protagonist. I think he really does remind me of elements of Takado, who I would argue, although he was determined, he wasn't the most confident individual, but when push came to shove, he was right there with Henry and Rika. And also, he reminds me of elements, and I am being biased because I can't mention Taichi without mentioning Yamato, or Tai without Matt, because I'm a big Matt / Gabumon fan. But he also reminds me of elements of Yamato and Taichi. Taichi because he's willing to work with other people. He's willing to utilize what's put in front of him. And Yamato because that lone wolf kind of demeanor. He works on his own. But I really just love how Ichi's not afraid of showing his emotions. If he's bewildered, if he's excited, or in this instance, if he's feeling nervous or scared. It is the second time that the story has focused on his fears. The last time that I recall prominently when the Digipolice came out, and Ichi was freaking out a bit. I think the word that was used was cowering. He was cowering. But I do really like this. If the defense forces didn't do it, then you don't think it was a Digipolice. Ichi put it out, panic, feeling his voice anew. I just like that because it really humanizes Ichi's character. Although one could be as confident as they can be, one's confidence will eventually run out, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that one needs to run away at that point. Once that confidence runs out, one has a different choice to make. Either renew that confidence, come up with a new plan and adapt, or start cowering or start feeling that fear, right? That's why I really do like this quote. The next quote that I want to review: an electric shock ran through the wall, and from an electric cloud emerged lightning personified. Excuse me, I am not going to lie, I'm going to more than likely mess up the pronunciation. Kazuchimon. The creature held twin blades crackling with lightning. Its clothing and obi-like belt recalled the Japanese god of thunder, Tamakazashi, from whom it likely took the inspiration for its name. That thing is deadly, Loogarmon squeaked, trembling. The fear hit Ichi through the mind link. Kazuchimon could take on 1,000 of them with its horrific blades. It had honed its body and mind to absolute perfection. Its place as a Mega Digimon was well deserved. Ichi felt that. So in the same way that I really appreciate how Ichi is able to reflect his fear, I think this might be the first time that Loogarmon is also doing the same thing. Up to this point, I would argue that Loogarmon's been very, as I said, curt, but also polite, impatient, and knowledgeable. And I would argue this is the first time we're getting some fear, some uncertainty, and I really appreciate that because again, it just humanizes these characters. I know Loogarmon's not a human, but it makes the viewers sympathize with them. And they were always confident and feeling brave 24/7. Yeah, that's awesome and that's cool, but that's really unrealistic. No one's able to do that, right? And a lot of great stories reflect this. Not just great stories within literature like Shakespeare and Dickens, but also within video games, TV shows, and movies, right? One cannot be constantly brave all the time. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Captain America, Geralt of Rivia, and so forth, right? So that's why I like that line. Loogarmon, that thing is deadly, Loogarmon squeaked, trembling. The fear hit Ichi through the mind link. So confirming it's not just Ichi believing it's fear, it is fear. I really do love that. Really so much about Loogarmon and Ichi. What does it say? Well, they could easily cower at this point and just give up. And it would make sense a little bit, right? Machinedramon is not caught yet. Marvin, the song singer, is incapacitated. Excuse me, I mispronounced that. And Megajimon is unconscious. And I would argue that they were the big guns in the group, right? He was the one that was digivolved. So they were feeling like maybe we should run away. That would be a little bit understandable. But we're going to see from the rest of the part that that's not the choice that Ichi and Loogarmon make. What I also like about this is that, I'm not going to lie, I am aware of who Kazuchimon is because of Pulsemon and the Vital Bracelet. And I do appreciate the designs. But I'm really starting to love Kazuchimon now. I'm really starting to appreciate Pulsemon even more. And I think it's because we're seeing Pulsemon in action. I am aware that there's Digimon Dreamers, I believe. And that's recently been announced for an official English translation, but I have not invested myself in that, so I have no experience with Pulsemon. Pulsemon and Digimon Seekers is my first time interacting with Pulsemon beyond the Vital Bracelet, and he's really awesome so far. I'm really loving him. So moving on. Now she's looking at the last line. Its place as a Mega Digimon was well deserved. And I do like that. Just that comment. Mega followed after Ultimate level Digimon. They were basically the gods of the digital world. The Machinedramon in the X Nation's position was also a Mega Digimon, but Kazuchimon was on another level in a way Ichi couldn't quite articulate. Kazuchimon wasn't gigantic like Machinedramon, yet it instilled levels of fear beyond its gigantic counterpart. Machinedramon was right beside them, and yet Kazuchimon somehow felt more real, more alive. I like this quote because it goes back to the previous part. Again, kind of reminding the viewer that why is this Machinejimon not feeling alive? Well, because it's a prisoner, essentially. Dare I say, even a slave that's being utilized by the X Nation or the leaders of the X Nation. As a quick reminder, in part 4, it was explained that despite Machinejimon's imposing demeanor, when he warred, one didn't really feel fear, or rather, one didn't really hear intimidation from Machinejimon. Rather, they heard lifelessness because Machinejimon was being used as a tool. And again, as Digimon seekers like to say, Digimon is alive, right? And if something is alive and it's being used as and it's being utilized as a tool, then of course it's going to become lifeless. So I do like this portion. I do wish, I'm not going to lie, they made a bigger emphasis about that from the previous part, just to kind of pull at the heartstrings of the reader a little bit. But this is why Koichima feels so alive, because he's truly, quote unquote, is alive. He's doing something that he wants to do, working with Leon and helping to bring, quote unquote, justice, and whatever version of justice that is for Leon, right? This is something that Pulsemon is not being forced to do. So yeah, I really like this line. Moving on. Oh, excuse me. Okay, excuse me. Hackers are no friends to code crackers. They might as well be the police as far as everyone present was concerned. The only difference is that the police, with their ability to open investigations and issue arrest warrants, were in theory public servants. Hackers were private citizens of the internet with a penchant for vigilante justice, self-governance types, self-righteous types. Code crackers fought for the freedom of the network, but there will always be those who didn't think the network would. There were those who didn't think the network should be so free. They wanted their so-called justice like a cudgel. Hackers had all sorts of ideas about what justice was, but all agreed on the need for it. They kept them from seeing eye to eye with code crackers. Each group talked past the other. So again, some really awesome world building. We have gotten some elements of hackers versus code crackers, but this is the first time where we're finally getting a deeper engagement with hackers. Up to this point, we've been mostly dealing with code crackers. And I love how the story is reminding the reader that there is a difference between code crackers and hackers. And that difference really is just a matter of perspective, or rather of ideology. Code crackers want freedom for the digital network. In other words, being able to do what one wants to do. I would hope that there's some accountability within that, though, right? If one does something negative, punishment must ensue from that. While as hackers, though, I would argue, recognize individuals have the capacity to do good, but also to do bad, and that's why the network should be available, but maybe not totally free. There should be some rules in place. What kind of rules? Well, it's seeming like each hacker will have a different definition about that, and even if we're able to come to a consensus of what justice is, that definition will not comply really well with code crackers, because again, code crackers' ideology is just different from hackers, even though they're very similar, two sides of the same coin in some regards. I just really like it because, like with the first quote that I read from, has world building, and it has world building to connections from the previous chapter, but also to the current piece of where we're at in the story. I just think it was done very organically and naturally. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's everything from here. Okay, so I'm not going to lie. This quote, I'm only going to read something from the top of it, and I'm going to skip to the bottom of it. I couldn't fit all of it in one page, so I do thank you for your patience. I want to make sure that I get the beginning part as well. I don't want to just highlight the part that I wanted to look at, and what if I forgot the beginning part? So yeah. So again, to reiterate, I will be starting this quote, but I'm going to be skipping through some of it and going to the end of it. The next thing Iji heard was the sound of rending metal, and his stomach dropped. Machinejimon, who had been chained to the walls of the hangar, was not only awake, but finishing the job Marvin and Megajimon started. It had already freed an arm and a leg. It would be impossible to control it if it escaped. An unchecked Machinejimon loose on the network. Iji didn't want to think about that. What a pity, Koichimon said at last. Iji wondered if it was in fact Judge's voice coming through the voice chat. Then he wondered who on earth Judge was talking to. You have committed so many crimes, not all of them willingly, perhaps, but you will be punished for them all the same. Koichimon or Judge said to Machinejimon. Had Koichimon been focused on Machinejimon all this time? Whatever the case was, Iji had a bad feeling in the pit of his stomach. No way, he whispered, shouted, I guess what he was seeing. Charges from Koichimon fired off every nanosecond from the massive energy. Shooting Soroyako. No one saw the exact moment it happened, but when the light faded and the sparks ceased flying, all that was left was Machinejimon's hollowed out husk. The charges had ripped clean through, all the way down to its Digicore. Iji looked at Machinedmon's shredded corpse. An ear-splitting war reverberated throughout the hangar. Machinemon's death throes. The source of so many Digimon crimes and terrorist acts was perishing before their eyes, falling to pieces and threatening to take the hangar and data server with it. Return once more to your Digitama. This time, I pray you are not taken in by a wicked soul, Judd said, utilizing the state-secret Digimon. So this was the god of thunder, the Mega Digimon. Kuachi turned around to face the remaining code crackers. So the reason why I really love that eulogy, I am not going to lie, when I first read this part, a part of me was a little bit against Leon, even though I am enjoying his character so far. I had a soft spot towards Machinedmon. Although he was doing acts of terrorism, he was forced into those acts, as Leon highlights, right? Or excuse me, I'm pretty sure it is Leon speaking, but from Iji's perspective, he's unsure if it's Leon or Koichimon, so we'll go along with that thread as well. But Koichimon / Leon, I didn't really appreciate how right away they were attacking, despite being aware that Machinedmon was being used as a pawn. It kind of did just make Leon seem a little bit too stubborn, right? Justice is good, but there is elements in hierarchy of justice, levels of justice. And I don't think that was the correct form of justice to be utilized here. But then once we got to the end portion, that quote, that eulogy, return once more to your Digitama. This time I pray you are not taken in by a wicked soul. That really made me change my mind. Kind of like one of those, that phrase, sometimes bad action must be done to correct, or to go back onto the correct path. And I forgot that Digimon, when they quote-unquote perish, when they die, they return to their Digitama or their egg, and they're reborn again. They're a lot like Digimon Savers, right? Or Digimon in general, but Savers really focus on that rebirth, reincarnation, because then the antagonist of that show ended up killing Digimon for real, as in they went back to the Digitama, but then that too got deleted. So that reminder that Digimon returned to their eggs and then are reborn again, it did make me feel a little bit better about which occurred, especially because it is true Machinedmon more than likely did not have the best of lives, for whatever reason, how he got caught and being forced to do these atrocities. So yeah, hopefully when he's reborn, he will not be taken in again by poachers, and again will be allowed to live the life that he wants to live. So this scene, all in all, really was, for me, I know it was quite minor, probably, right, because it's not a major fight, and it ended quite quickly. But I love how it took the reader from showing us that Judge is he's an individual who's aware about the situation, and although his actions may seem too stubborn, at the end he's doing it for a positive reason. He's keeping in mind, despite some having a choice, hopefully through this negative action, the act of destroying Machinedmon, when he will be reborn and be allowed to have a positive life or a more fulfilling life. Again, in the previous part, how his war was lifeless. And I do love how Machinedmon was attempting to free himself still, right? Despite being lifeless, that shows the reader, or at least in my opinion, that this Machinedmon was still alive. He still wanted to live and have its own objectives, its own dreams, and so forth, right? As cheesy as it may sound. But yeah, I really did appreciate this set of quotes. So then after this, they realize, they being the Sons of Chaos, that they have failed their mission. And so Loogarmon says, we have to get out of here. Loogarmon said to Iji through the mind link, huh? Iji said, Iji said, shaking out of his trance, the SOC operation was a failure. A colossal failure. This hacker's Mega Digimon unexpectedly interfered, and Marvin may be permanently lost. What should we do? Loogarmon said, laying out the situation before them. It took all of 2 seconds for Iji to reach the same conclusion. We've got to run. We can't be seen here, he said softly. Good answer, Loogarmon replied. But we had to help Marvin, Iji said quickly. The guy from the SOC, the organization he's supposed to be spying on, he's not your friend, Loogarmon snarled. I don't care. He made custom tools for me. He's a good guy. I learned a lot from him. I'm not just going to let him. Iji couldn't finish the thought. He switched to the chat with the other SOC leaders. This is Iji. The operation is a failure. We'll draw the hacker away while you grab Marvin and get out of here. Okay, but are you sure you can take a Mega DG? There's no time. Let's go, Loogarmon. Iji and Loogarmon turned to face their enemy. One of the SOT teams approached Megadramon and attempted to scoop up Megadramon with the same tool they plan to use to capture Machinedmon. So this is a great line for me, just because we're seeing two elements. Again, we're being shown how Loogarmon is quite curt. He has no qualms about leaving behind a member of the team. Why? Well, because in his point of view, It's just a team that they're being forced to utilize, right? They're on a mission from Professor Ruzenji. I would argue that for Loogarmon, his team, for him, would be EG and the Professor, not EG and the Sons of Chaos. Yet despite this, I love how EG, he doesn't just comply with Loogarmon. Despite, I would argue, he does have a lot of respect for Loogarmon. But he stands his ground and he tells Loogarmon, hey, he's a good guy, Marvin. He's helped me. He didn't have to help me. I'm a new member of the Sons of Chaos, yet he assisted me. Because of that, I want to make sure I return the favor. I want to help Marvin as well. I really appreciate that. I really do. I like that. And I also love the assertiveness that EG displays right here. EG, instead of being that lone wolf and right away working with Loogarmon, he makes the choice to switch his channel, his communication channel, to the public link or the public party, and speak with the rest of the Sons of Chaos, and telling them what? A plan. We're going to distract the X Nation and the reinforcements coming in. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to distract Kazuchimon, while it's you guys, you two, you extract Megajimon and Marvin. I thought it was really cool and really shows how, despite Loogarmon may not agreeing with EG, he's not going to let EG down. He's going to work with him still. Again, really highlighting that partnership. So now Leon is speaking, or Leon / Kazuchimon is speaking with EG. Where is your leader Tartarus? Judge demanded. Rumor has it they've never lost a single person in any of the operations they've planned. I expect I've dragged that reputation through the mud today. And if you think I'm going to stop there and let you go quietly, think again. This shall be the SOC's final resting place. Boutmon Ultimate Beastman Vaccine. Just your ultimate form? EG said, taunting but slightly surprised. This was a downgrade, not a digivolution, and he failed to see the rationale behind it. I defeated Marvin and Megajimon, your greatest assets, and neutralized Machinjimon, the greatest threat. This would be enough to clean up the rest of you. Judd said. This would be enough to clean up the rest of you, Judd said. EG will want to keep his distance if he could. Boutmon was a fighter. Getting involved in close quarters combat would be a death sentence. So we're weak. Easy targets, EG said to himself, his fury growing by the second. That hacker may be as even-tempered as you are angry, but if they're mind linked, that means they... Excuse me, everyone. Let me start that over. The hacker may be as even-tempered as you are angry, but if they're mind linked, that means they're on the clock, same as you. Just remember, they're still linked to an ultimate Digimon, Loogarmon rationalized. But Loogarmon, I'm saying you're right, EG. If they're underestimating us, now's our chance. You got it, EG barked, taking one last look at his monitor to check his stance. Loogarmon, Digivolve. We'll hit him where it hurts. Loogarmon champion Dark Beast Virus. Loogarmon was instantly enveloped in a ball of fire. Those strike Boutmon. Oh, that's a typo. Excuse me. On the page it says Boutman. They'll strike Boutmon, who was now speeding toward Megajimon at a speed and angle and never anticipated. So like with the previous quote, I just love the teamwork that's being shown here. This time though, instead of Loogarmon going against EG, Loogarmon was actually reinforming what EG was thinking, but doing so in a more deeper level instead of superficial level. Instead of saying, EG, don't you realize his time is running out? Instead, Loogarmon was just telling EG, you need to recall what's been going on. He came in with his ultimate level. We could move on from here. We could take him on because his time is going to be even less compared to the rest of us. That's really cool. And I like how it comes from the previous quote as well. When Loogarmon works with EG, what is it that we need to do? We need to get out of here. Or maybe I'm jumping the gun. That's the future quote. But yeah, I like the teamwork that's being highlighted right here. And also the battle prowess that EG is demonstrating. He sees that Kazuchimon was a quote-unquote god amongst Digimon because he was a mega level, and when he de-digivolves to Boutmon, what does EG keep in mind? Despite this de-digivolution, he recognizes that Boutmon will be quite efficient at a close quarter range. And we're going to see during this fight that that's an element that's brought up and it's kept in mind during the fight. Loogarmon makes sure to keep his distance away from Boutmon, and I think that's really awesome, really cool. Loogarmon roared, unleashing a torrent of fire. Boutmon blocked again, but the magic flames now covered its arms, adding to the damage tally. He's already been hurt. Boutmon's already been hurt by the previous attack that Loogarmon did, the unexpected attack. Is evading all we could do against this Digimon? What is it even called? Loogarmon? Judge said through gritted teeth. EG kept up his hit and run attack patterns, keeping his fighting type enemy at a healthy distance. Do you really have all day to keep this up, you puny pugilist? EG taunted. He had no idea what Judge was capable of, nor how much he had left. Everyone had a time limit, but how close was Judge to theirs? If they were particularly compatible with their Digimon, this could be a long fight. That's why you downgraded, isn't it? You spent some time linked to Omega form, launched a big attack, and now, despite being an amazing hacker, you found yourself needing to downgrade in order to buy yourself a little bit more time. You can't stay in there forever. The rest of EG's teammates remained in their rookie forms. Time was the most important factor now. They didn't have to win. They just had to buy enough time to get Marvin out of here. And as cheesy as it sounds, I love it when any source of medium does something like that, where the goal, the objective is not a victory per se, but rather just buying time, creating a diversion in order to create victory in the future. I think it just really adds a lot of weight to the situation, and it makes things more dramatic, especially when the second plan is going to be created, right? The second plan being obviously, I don't think Tartarus is going to take this quietly. This Machinedramon was needed for something, and now his plans are going to have to adapt because they're not going to have, they being Sons of Chaos, are not going to have access to the Machinedramon. But moving forward, and I also do like how we saw how Leon is quite capable as a fighter, but despite this, he's not immune, he's not immortal. When his opponent is able to use a strategy against him, well, Leon has to adapt to that as well, right? What Leon forgot to do was he digivolved, thus losing all that power and not adapting to the new opponent. But yeah, I do appreciate that. EG, look. Loogarmon drew EG's attention back to his opponent, who was once again downgrading, this time to the rookie level. Pulsemon, rookie Beastman, vaccine. They must have decided it was time to give up. They destroyed Machinedramon, which was the only objective. EG looked pointedly at the small fairy-like Digimon that now stood before him, shooting off sparks like small fireworks. He couldn't shake the feeling he's seen it somewhere before, a long time ago. I only show you, EG. This is my treasure, my best friend. All came rushing back to him. He was just a boy in elementary school when his friends showed him the same exact Digimon. He didn't know anything about Digimon, let alone the digital world. Back then, back then. Pulsemon. EG turned the name over in his head. Is that you, Leo? Leon Alexander? EG's curiosity got the better of him, and he hollow-eyed himself. He stood beside Loogarmon for his opponent to see. He saw a change in Judge's demeanor within Pulsemon too. Perhaps at hearing a familiar nickname. Judge hollow-eyed himself. So this really reaffirms how EG is a naive individual. He did something similar to this when he faced off against the Digipolice. What did he do? He gave them his real name. He gave them his full name and his code cracker name as well. In this instance, EG really has to learn how to keep important information private and personal. But despite that, it really is an EG thing to do at this point, and just to hollow-eyes himself. Why? Because he was curious, because he felt like he recognized something about his opponent that he was fighting, and in this instance, it paid off. In this instance, he had an effect upon Leon, who does the same thing. He hollow-eyes himself because he recognizes EG. So despite this being an EG action to do, I think that was more than likely the best course of action, or otherwise Pulsemon and Leon will still be enemies or butting heads with EG/Loogarmon. They're still going to be butting heads as of now, but now knowing who they each are, I think it's really going to help with patching up and allowing them to start working together. Because I would argue that it's quite clear that Leon is going after Tartarus. One of the first questions that he asks when he starts engaging with the Sons of Chaos is, who's your leader, Tartarus? And who's also looking for Tartarus? EG, right? And again, we need to go back and think about, although it was stated that some tamers make their own docks and their own linker straps, I'm getting the impression that Leon got his linker from another scientist. Well, that was already mentioned, but I wouldn't be surprised if that scientist figure was indeed Professor Ruzenji. So I'm looking forward to that explanation as well. And so I do really like this, how EG being EG was the best course of action, and Leon, despite seemingly looking like a stubborn individual, he's able to put aside his differences and communicate with EG. Not just communicate, but to meet him on his same level, hollow-eyes himself too, right? I like that a lot. I'm really looking forward to discovering more about the relationship. And excuse me, everyone. Thank you for your patience. I seem to have Oh, excuse me. That was my last. I had some couple pages open. I'll explain shortly why. That was the last official quote I wanted to look at. The end of this is essentially just Leon does recognize EG, and he kind of insults him. EG, you're a dirty code cracker, which I thought to be a funny comment. Leo, it's you. How could you become a filthy code cracker? And the X Nation's defenses are starting to come in, and unfortunately they can't continue their conversation. They being EG and Leon, and Pulsemon has to dodge bullets as they're being attacked, and Loogarmon also has to tell, Loogarmon also has to tell EG that they need to get out of there, and that's how this part ends. So excuse me, the reason why I got confused. Usually I only have the quotes I want to look at open, but really quickly, I just want to check something. Okay. Okay, sorry, but I was just double checking because I'm not gonna lie, I need to refresh my memory when it comes to the Digimon levels. And in this instance, I am a little bit confused, but maybe I'm just because I'm actually on the Digimon website. No, so this might be a typo from the story. So, according to this, Kazuchimon is a ultimate Digimon. Yet despite that, the story called him a mega level Digimon, the same as Machinedramon. Because I just recently watched the subtitle version, I'm a little bit more familiarized with the Japanese terms. But I did look it up. I'm about to look more into this just because I also just looked up Boutmon. Yet he's being described as a perfect level. But also Koichimon. Oh, it might just be me. Sorry, everyone. Thank you for your patience. I'll look more into this. Since Pulsemon is a new Digimon, might just be that I'm not familiar with this Digivolution line. It's also, excuse me for about my hair. Usually when I'm reading from the quotes, I'm away from the screen itself. Thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate it. If you're still reading Digimon Seekers, what did you think about this recent fight? Are you also looking forward to the communication that we're going to get with EG and Leon? And the question that I have for the audience today is, do you have a favorite Digimon video game? Myself personally, I really need to finish Digimon Cyber Sleuth. I'm also in the middle of playing Digimon Survive, and I am really enjoying both games. And eventually, I will finish both of them. It's just that right now, I have a bad habit of going between different, not just games, but also different shows, movies, and books, and things like that. But I will be finishing them eventually. So again, the question is, what is your favorite Digimon game if you do have one? If you don't have one because you haven't played one yet, what's a Digimon game that you'll be willing to check out and try? Again, thank you so much for watching and listening. I do appreciate it. Have a Pro Digits day and take care.